Go ahead.
Hey everyone, it's Fred Staab and Les Jackson, and we are getting ready for another hour of cruise control. We've got plenty coming up, and we're going to talk about everything from the UAW strike to some of the new models coming out, and we're going to talk to Pete
Yep.
Vicari of Pete Vicari Auctions. He's got a really interesting auction coming up, including some cool vehicles like this. Buick
I'll tell you,
Skylark.
some of these vehicles are just, man, it's like having a great ice cream sundae. You just want it.
Yeah, some of these vehicles are. There's an El Dorado. So we're going to be back with that in a minute. Stay tuned to Cruise Control. We will be getting started in just a sec.
Three, two, one.
And welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is none other than Les Jackson. Les, how you doing this week?
Very good, Fred. How are you?
I'm doing great, and we have got a ton of information for you when it comes to the automotive world. We're starting this hour, of course, with the big news that UAW makes it official and the strike at the Big Three is underway, but this time it's a little bit different. They call it a stand-up strike. We're going to tell you
Yeah,
what that means.
it is a bit confusing, but it's not good no matter what. And GMC shows off its Acadia with new power and new tech, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of new models coming in, and Nissan is returning to its past with kind of a retro look, 80s hardbody. Remember the hardbody? That was a big styling deal for them way
Yeah,
back when.
yeah, I think it'll work out quite well.
Yeah,
And hey, why, Fred, do you think BMW is abandoning its subscription model for
well,
in-car amenities? Isn't this amusing?
yeah, if you remember, they were going to charge a monthly fee for things
Yeah,
like electrically heated seats and some other things. Mercedes has done this for things like rear steering, and it seemed to be a trend in the auto industry. It was rejected, though, and a lot of people
not
are,
popular.
yeah, not popular at all. The way you are with your friend there, yeah.
Exactly,
What do you got? What do you got
exactly.
coming up next?
Well, he's always been a car guy like us. Now he runs what's been voted America's best car event. We'll be talking to Pete Vicari about his 26th annual collector car auction coming up in Biloxi, Mississippi. It's a little far to go to attend it, but I'd love to attend one.
Yeah, I mean, a great looking vehicles like 1953 Skylark and also El Dorado, and we have Shelby, and it just goes on and on and on. And
Yeah,
even interesting things like restored pickup trucks, and I think
big collector market.
yeah, there's even a a giant shopping cart that you can drive around in.
Well,
If you ever
okay,
thought,
that
yeah,
I, I don't need that. Be fun to ride in it.
it'd be fun to ride in it, and a real cool car, a 1966 427 powered 4-speed Impala wagon, and
I just
I
like
love
that.
love the way it looks. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're going to talk about that, and a little bit about his past and some of the cool vehicles. He actually found his first Corvette that he had sold a long time ago, but unfortunately, it was found under 10 feet of water. So
Ooh.
it needed
Okay.
a bit of restoration.
Need
So
need to be buffed out.
Yeah, a little buffed out. So we'll talk about that when we come back. And, a lot of cruise controls coming up. So don't forget to check us out online at cruisecontrolradio.com and also at our social media pages, our Cruise Control Radio Facebook page. Always fun to go there, and our YouTube page. We'll be right back.
Yep.
Two, one, go.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Les, how you doing?
Very good. We're doing well, but unfortunately, things aren't happy uh, in the auto industry, Fred. And I'm sure anybody that's watched the news in the past few days knows that there's a strike because demands weren't met. And how long do you think this is going to go on, and why were such major concessions demanded?
Well, it's a good point, Les. I don't know how long this will be going on. It is what they call a stand-up strike. So that means they started at 3 plants with strikes in Michigan, Ohio, and Missouri, including sites that make vehicles like the Ford Bronco, the Jeep Wrangler, Chevy Colorado. They didn't strike at, let's say, the F-150 plant or some of the large SUV plants, and they want to kind of roll it out. In other words,
Yeah,
do a little bit of striking, but say like, "Hey, we'd like to keep talking, but if you don't keep talking, we'll amp it up." So it's kind of the first time that they've done something like that. Normally, it's everyone puts their tools down and heads out all at one time, right?
that's right. This I've never heard of this before. I think it's a very good idea, and I think I have no idea how long it'll take to resolve it. But the demands are just really dramatic, and I don't believe they'll approach those in the end. But I think they will get some really good salary raises. I think they'll get other conditions. I don't. What do you think? The 4 day work week? I don't think that's viable. At a car plant.
Yeah, what they were talking about was a 4-day work week, but 40 hours of pay, and not extending the work day to a 10-hour day, just keeping it at 4 8-hour days.
Yeah. Well.
That's a huge raise in itself.
Well, and when you're making one truck every 48 seconds,
That's a lot of trucks.
that's that's a lot of trucks that don't get built.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
it's a real
uh,
problem.
it's a real problem. I think they will get a significant raise. I think they might
I think.
eliminate the tiered pay. I think they might do that where people come in and they make a lot less than people that have been doing the same job. I could see that being eliminated, perhaps. And you and I were talking offline about the pension plan. Go back to the old days of the pension plan versus a modern day 401k. Companies just don't do that anymore.
y- Nobody can do that anymore, really. And that's one of the reasons that GM went into bankruptcy a number of years ago, because they had uh, over 100,000 people in their pension plan. They simply couldn't afford anymore to fund it.
Yeah, it's kind of what
So
we see at like the MTA or something like that here, the Metropolitan
yeah,
Transportation Authority. They pay the people the same amount they did when they were working, virtually like 85% of it when they retire for the rest of their life. And with people living longer,
that's right.
it just you can't. It's like a bucket. You can't fill it enough to keep it filled
You
up
can't.
with the money being taken out of the bottom of it. So I don't see that as a thing. I think they might do more matching money on a 401k. Let's just say something like that.
Yep.
You
I don't know how much they match presently with 401ks.
I don't really know
Probably
what their
not a
current
lot.
deal is. Yeah, but think of it too. They're spending the car manufacturers. They're spending a lot to switch over to electric vehicles, but then there's the threat they can easily move them to Mexico or even China. Of course, some of GM's vehicles sold in the U.S. are built in China. And frankly, in recent years, a vehicle might be released for the Chinese market, and then the U.S. is secondary. So
Yeah, now some of the workers' benefits that were cut during the 2008 recession should be brought back. I'm not talking about the retirement plans and a couple other things, but uh, this is, I don't think this is going to last as long as the writers' strike in California,
yeah, that's a good point.
but it could go a couple months, and that boy, I mean that affects the entire economy.
Yeah, it does. And on certain vehicles, GM has a 90-day supply, so
10.
that won't fit. That won't worry them for a while. They have a little pad, but we'll
Yeah,
have to see on some of the other ones. Certainly that Ford Bronco. So, hey, coming up, we're going to talk about a GMC product, the GMC ACADIA. So stay tuned to Cruise Control, and we will be right back with that and more news for you.
Five, four, three, two, one.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. And we are glad you are around because we've got a lot to talk about. And Les, we're going to talk about, what GM calls a cut above the GMC Acadia. It was revealed this week. And the Detroit Auto Show is going on. It's a much smaller show, a much different show, yet there's still announcements, and Acadia is one of them. It's bigger, more advanced, more luxurious, and I just have to call out the one and only engine, which is pretty darn amazing. You and I were talking
this
about it during the break. It's a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4, and you would say, like, well, this is a pretty big vehicle. That can't be very fast with that on it. Well, it produces 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with an 8-speed automatic in all trims. I think that is pretty darn amazing, don't you?
it really is. I mean, 2.5 liters is basically 2.25 quarts of displacement. Quarts,
That's crazy.
and that's nothing. This thing is putting out more horsepower than a stock Chevy 327 in the 60s in your Corvettes or in the Impalas. Nowhere near the torque that this thing puts out. It's just remarkable engineering, and it's extremely clean running,
Yep.
and virtually bulletproof.
Yes, yes, it is. And, it has a lot of technology as well, including Super Cruise, which is the fifth
Yep.
nameplate in the GMC portfolio to have that. Hands free advanced driving assistance. available. Now, Super Cruise is not like Ultra Cruise. Super Cruise is available on more than 400,000 miles of road. So it is specific to the road. Like, for example, in this area, it will work on the New Jersey Turnpike, but it won't work on other highways.
Right.
So you have that. It has customizable touchscreen displays. It has Google built-in compatibility with available apps. Of course, Google built-in means it's just like having Google Maps on your dashboard. You don't even have to connect your phone. It is built in. So it makes it easier to connect, you know?
Yeah. Now, what do you think about the fact that they increased the size so much? I mean, it was already a big SUV, and they made it 10.5 inches longer
Yeah,
and
that's big.
3.2 inches taller. That's a big change.
Yes, it is.
Boy,
Yes, it is. And it's not unheard of. I mean, a lot of vehicles are going to
no.
that size. And frankly, it's hard to find a smaller vehicle, that is not, just a huge vehicle. This is what people want, I
It
would
is.
imagine. So, but they will have power with that 2.5 liter 300 horsepower engine. And once again, I always say an engine like that would be cool in some other vehicle, that, oh, you only put a four-cylinder in it, and then you find out that it has that kind of output. Would be pretty cool, don't you think?
Yeah.
You know,
You know, it's just remarkable to me that, and it comes in all-wheel drive, and that engine also, you know, runs it just fine in all-wheel drive configuration. So, and gets good gas mileage. Well, good as a big SUV gets.
right.
Um, yeah, I don't think we have that mile, do we?
No, I don't think we do have that. I don't, since it was just released. But we can tell you that there, and true to form, there will be a very off-road capable model of this, the Acadia AT4, eventually coming down the line with a 1 inch
Yep.
higher ride height and wider track, off-road tuned suspension with hydraulic rebound control, and active torque control and all-wheel drive with its all-wheel drive system. So um, it's pretty impressive, and I'm not sure if that engine has been used anywhere else in the lineup, but I think you
I
will
was
be seeing it.
trying to brainstorm about that moments ago. You know, something else that I've noticed recently is we're in a townhouse community with the standard single car garages, 7 foot, by 10 foot wide garage. I'm seeing that a lot of people with the larger SUVs just can't get them in.
Right, right.
That's an issue.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. It really doesn't. Well, they'll have to start cutting those buildings and lifting them and making a 10-foot garage.
Yeah,
There's an assessment for you. We have a small
that's
project.
right.
We'll bring in cranes and start lifting them up. But yeah, good point. Good point. But that is the GMC Acadia. Now, do you remember back in the day, there was something called the Hardbody from the folks over at Nissan, and it
Hmm.
was a very particular look. A lot of black trim, a lot of chiseled edges. Well, the Frontier, the 2024 Frontier, is getting that as an optional look package. It features heritage style 17-inch wheels, and they actually have done a very good job of recreating those wheels. Heritage styled decals. And if you look at the wheels do look like the hard body wheels. I remember them. Um,
They do.
I think it's kind of a cool trim package. $3,890. You think about this, Ford has done this with their Bronco and Bronco Sport. They've made heritage packages. So I think we're going to see yet another trend. We saw the trend of making certain vehicles really off-road uh, capable. Now I think we're seeing I'll call it a mild retro trend where it's just the appearance. Some pricing numbers on this. As I said, you can get this package for $3,890. It's available in the Frontier SV Crew Cab, and it. We also have pricing for the rest of the Frontier lineup. The S King Cab 4x2 starts at $29,770, and then the King Cab goes up to $32,470. That's 4x2. King Cab 4x4, $32,000. Frontier SV King Cab 4x4, $35,670. You can keep going all the way up. You get a couple of different bed length choices, 5 foot and 6 foot. It tops out with the Frontier SL Crew Cab 4x4 at $42,640. I think the great thing about the Frontier is they have kept that special feel, I think, that you get with that vehicle. And it's, I don't know, it's just a vehicle that journalists have liked for a long time,
Yeah.
but for the longest time it wasn't updated, was it?
Well, that's right, and the owners of these things love them. There was big outcry when they kind of stopped, and of course today now this 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 smaller truck is now the size of what full size trucks were 15 years ago, but still, it looks like it used to look,
Yep.
and I'm sure it drives even better than that, and it's remarkably low priced for what you're getting. So I think Nissan is off to the races here.
Yeah, I think so too. I really do, and I think we might see more retro style vehicles as a trend too. So stay tuned for
Yeah.
that. Stay tuned for more cruise control. We're hoping to speak with Pete Vicari of Vicari Auctions. Got a lot coming up, so we will be right back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. We are glad you're along for the ride. We're waiting for Pete Vicari of Vicari Auctions. He's going to talk about his 26th annual Biloxi Collector Car Auction set for October 4th through 7th. And it is during Mississippi's Cruising for the Coast event. And less, auctions are always pretty exciting, even if you're not buying, right?
Yeah, because it's just fun to see what's popular, what people think it's worth, how many people are excited about it, and there are actually deals at auction.
Yeah, exactly. And it's I don't know, I always like to look at the vehicles ahead of time and think what would I pay for it,
Oh yeah,
even if I don't have you know, a paddle to
or a bank account.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But let's look at some of the cars that Pete's going to have up here. One of them is a 1953 Buick Skylark, and just a beautiful car. That was just a beautiful piece of automotive history, and it is just incredible, isn't it?
Well, it is, and for people that weren't around in those days, or might remember the Buick Skylarks in the '60s, that was a intermediate sized car. But back in the '50s, the Skylark was simply a model of the full size Buick, and uh, boy, there's something about the '50s cars, nicer cars that you can't. They didn't handle well. They didn't stop well, but boy, they sure rode well. Incredibly smooth.
It is pretty intense, isn't it, Les? It's a
It is really. I sure love to sit in these things.
Yeah, exactly. And I was trying to get Pete on the line so he can come in and join us. Um, but yeah, I think just to go, imagine the amount of money you would spend just doing the chrome on this vehicle, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've actually met people at car shows, like in the last few years, who have spent $20,000 having their chrome on their '50s cars re-chromed. It's staggering.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's just it's just an investment. It's just a big investment. So, um, but Pete's got a whole bunch of other cars, and as I said, we want to connect with him, and I definitely want to ask him about some of his Corvettes. He has three sequential 1963 Corvettes that are prototypes, and you and I
Wow.
know that prototypes normally don't make it to the don't make it as far as they they can, do they?
No, no. Usually they get destroyed,
Exactly.
or in those days, sold off to usually internals in the company.
Yeah. But most likely today they will be trashed, and
Oh yeah.
and he has three of them in sequential order. So we're going to try to get him on the phone at least during the next break, and get him going at least on the phone as a guest. So very cool collection from Pete. By the way, here was his first car, which was a bit of a project, I would say.
Um, well, I know these. I know this feeling well. And yeah, these things where you have a basket case that 90% of the people who have them will never clean them up and restore them.
I do like his
Um,
Corvette, and I hope we get to talk about this because this is the one that he found. I actually like
yeah.
Corvettes like that were modified. That it's cool. They took the front bumper off. They did a little flare on the back. They got Kragers going on. It's kind of a cool, mild custom. Wouldn't you call it that?
Yeah, I would call it that. I've never been a fan of making body openings for big tires. I certainly understand why you want to do it. I like it to look as original as possible, but have a few little goodies under the hood.
Yeah, yeah. You're more of a narrow the rear axle and tub it type of guy to keep it looking.
Right, right, right. And I like resto mods. Taking a car that looks exactly like a '66 Corvette, for instance, and making it all modern underneath.
Cool.
Then you have a daily driver that's every bit as reliable as your Nissan or your Mazda,
Right, right.
and you except it's cost you $100,000 to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the other vehicles we're going to talk about when we get Pete on the line, and this, I love this. This is a 66 Impala wagon. Uh,
Yep.
and my dad had a 67 Caprice wagon, and I always thought it would look cool with rally wheels. And he had the 283, but I still have the owner's manual from it. You could get a 283, three different 327s, a I think you could get a 350, you could get a 396, and a 427, all optional. And
Yep.
this one has a
Yep.
4-speed in it, which has to be super rare.
That's very rare. My best friend back in those days, his parents did a lot of camping, and they had a trailer, and they bought a. It was a '59 uh, brand new Impala wagon, and they got a big modified 348 engine in it, so for pulling the trailers. It really was very fast. It also was very thirsty
I would imagine it
in an
would be.
era when typically cars got 10 or 12 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and the green was such a popular color in that time.
I, I always liked that color.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Why do you think that was so popular during that time?
Um, I don't know. Certain colors are always popular in certain eras. I just I guess it's kind of a youthful look to the people of that time. It was when I was living through it, as was the big decoration in your apartments was yellow and orange carpet.
Oh, you mean earth tones?
Yeah, yeah, and it seemed really neat looking at the time. I'm not sure I could stand looking at it today, but hey, it
Yeah.
was
Well,
cool. But
well, you're
that
not
was
you're
a that,
you're not going back to a, Harvest Gold refrigerator. How about some Earth
uh,
shoes? We could do some Earth shoes.
Absolutely. I am painting my office with paisleys.
well,
Uh, what the heck?
this auction also has some other unique vehicles too. We'll talk about that when we get Pete on the line. When we come back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine, Fred Staab and Les Jackson. We will be right back. Hey, Pat.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab and Les Jackson, we are with you. And we got Pete Vicari on the phone. Pete, welcome to Cruise Control. We're sorry we had a little difficulty getting you on, but you are here now, and that is a good thing. And we want to talk about the 26th annual Biloxi Collector Car Auction. That's going to happen October 4th through 7th. You've got quite a collection of vehicles. They're all great in their own right, but Pete, it is quite the collection. I mean, we're starting with this 1966 Chevrolet Impala 427 powered station wagon, and it's even rarer because it's got a 4-speed.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me this morning. I want to first say invite everybody to come down to Cruising the Coast because, we were voted out of 5 years, 4 in a row for the best car show by USA Today. So it's a huge event. I mean, we should be over 10,000 with probably 2 times that many that don't register on, so anyway, but that station wagon is an unbelievable car. The gentleman, when they went to buy the car in 66, for 66, the wife needed a station wagon, and they could only afford one car. So, he was smart enough to, okay, if you want a station wagon, I'm going to order the motor and what I want. And she said, okay, as long as it's a station wagon, but she had no clue that he was going to order a 427 with a 4-speed. So he did. And she had to learn how to drive a 4-speed.
Wow.
And she did, and they kept the car for many years. And then it went through another cousin had it, and then this gentleman that has it now bought it and had it frame off, fully restored, and it's absolutely a gorgeous car.
Yeah.
And it's very rare because of the 4-speed.
I love that. I had my dad at a 67 Caprice, and I still have the owner's manual. You could get like 6 different engines in it. The amount of options that were available was just stupendous. But that is a great-looking wagon, and hard to find. Most wagons are used so hard. I know this one was restored, but most are used so hard they're just shot. So it's hard to find a nice one. The other vehicle.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, the only thing that the gentleman couldn't restore it, and he's still looking for it. It has the third seat in the back.
Yes.
But he had so many kids, and they rode in the back there. They destroyed the springs of the seat. So the car is fully restored, but that spring is missing. That's the only thing that's not. They're still looking for a spring.
They'll find it.
Have one made.
They might have to have one made or a seat cut down or something to fit. Tell us about the 1953 Buick Skylark convertible. What a beautiful car.
Oh, that was Buick's anniversary car, and they knocked it out the park with that thing. That is the best restored Skylark. It sold many years ago. It sold, and I can tell you, it sold for $375,000. Is what the guy bought it for.
Wow.
But it's the world's best. It's gonna be sold. The gentleman has a stroke now, had a stroke, and he can't deal with it, and he told us to sell it, just, whatever it brings.
Yeah.
He's going to sell it.
Are these no reserve cars, Pete, or are they, do they have a reserve on them?
That one has a reserve on it, but he's telling us, he's going to sell it because his health is deteriorating, and he's just going to lift the reserve, and just sell it.
Yeah. Well, just what an outstanding group of cars. I mean, another big chromed up beauty is this 57 Cadillac Eldorado. We were talking a little bit before you came on. Just the chroming bill on that alone to restore it would be huge.
That's the two-door coupe, is that right?
Yeah. Yes, the two-door coupe, yes.
Okay, that car is a prototype.
Wow.
If I'm thinking about the right car.
It's the Barritz.
Oh, wait.
Eldorado Barritz convertible.
Okay, all right. That's a different car.
No.
We have, I think it's a 56, I think we have is the prototype. It has 2 headlights in the front.
No, this has 2 single, the one we're showing, but you have a prototype. You could talk about that one too. That I don't know how you come by all these prototypes, and we'll talk about your Corvette prototypes in a second. But
the prototype Cadillac was a car show, and a car for the show that Cadillac would turn around to show the new cars that are coming out. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the front end of that car, and I think it's in '58, they came out with the dual headlights.
Yes.
So. That was kind of a sneak preview of what was coming back in the day. And the car then ended up in a museum for many years. And a friend of mine bought it. Actually, we sold it to him. And he builds orphanages around the country. I should say the world. He's done built Ecuador and a couple other places. Well, now he's going to sell this car and build a place for kids in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
So
go to good.
He's donated to a nonprofit, and all proceeds are going to go to build that orphanage in the Philippines.
We are talking with Pete Vicari. He's got the 26th annual Biloxi Collector Car Auction coming up October 4th in Biloxi, Mississippi, during Mississippi's Cruise in the Coast, which sounds amazing. I got to ask you about some of your cars. I see you have them. I'm looking at your shop. You have what looks like a Mark Oswald Thunderbird funny car. I actually saw that car race, or one similar to it, but that is cool. And right under it, you have 3 Corvettes, and less than ideal, with the car companies all the time. Prototypes or pre-production vehicles typically don't make it out. They get crushed these days. But you have 3 prototype 1963 Corvettes that you own. You're not auctioning. How did you come by them? I mean, because normally these days they would have to be crushed up.
Yeah, there was about 22 bodies that were built in Flint. These cars were not built in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. They were at the design centers in Flint. They built them, and they would test them, and they crash them. They do this, do all kind of different things. Well, at the end of the day, of the first 25, there's only like about 8 or 9 that was even driving, running cars. And many years ago, I ran across number 16. And number 16 is the car that's photographed in the black and white photographs of the new 63 Corvette that's online.
Oh, wow.
And that car, when I found it, the gentleman that had it was a lot older than me, and he had already started searching all the pre-production prototypes.
Wow.
So I had a leg up and had a lot of information that he had dug up, and he went to GM's engineering department because they didn't have much documents on those cars. But what they did have, he was able to give to me. So then I was able to find 15 and then 17. So now I have 3 consecutive VIN number cars.
And
that's amazing.
And we're running out of time quickly, Pete, but just a quick question. Do they have a lot of unique things on them that are pre-production that a regular 63 wouldn't have?
They're totally different. From 10 feet, they look the same, but then when you walk up, you see these cars were hand-built. They wasn't built on a production line.
Right.
And a lot of stuff different. Consoles, the hoods, the inner fenders, the trim, the dash.
Wow.
It just goes on and on and on. Because
Pete,
a lot of stuff, once the car was finished, the engineers said, no, don't do this, do that.
Exactly.
Do something else.
Pete Vicari, we appreciate it. The name of the event is the annual Biloxi Collector Car Auction, October 4th through 7th. Check it out.